It's the meeting of the Agricultural Commission. It's the 16th of April here at the Senior Center. It is 7:06 p.m. So tonight's agenda, first up was the minutes. It's my understanding we don't have any minutes to review, so that was easy. We'll get to that the next meeting. Number two is the update on the farm film. We had a very low attendance.
What a great film, though.
It's not a bad film. I have it on Blu-ray if anybody wants to see it. If they'd like to see the end. We had some CD issues and the last couple minutes didn't play. The library system was not Blu-ray compatible, so I played a borrowed CD, and the last few minutes of the film skipped a little bit, and it was entertaining if nothing else. But it was fairly well received, and I have had a couple people interested in seeing it outside of our night.
I wish I knew I had a Blu-ray player.
We had I brought a Blu-ray player, but it was not compatible with their
With
system.
that particular system.
They do not have an HDMI port in their wall. So
so everything's hardwired.
yeah, they do have a way to do it, but I don't know that it would have been done in time. On that note, that spins into number three, the bank update. We raised $60 that night. 50 from one lone, very generous donor, and 10 in random attendance. So that brings our bank account up to $110 currently. Next on the agenda, number 4, is right to farm. And I would defer to the gentleman who requested it on the agenda tonight.
All right. Yeah, actually, I'd like to get going on the right to farm. My suggestion is for the brunt of the bylaw, it's going to be the same as the state's bylaw. We're not going to, change anything or make any modifications, with the exception of maybe some language to the fact of, like Rochester, with their right to farm bylaw, they have a snippet in there that they added where new homeowners who are buying any property or rentals have to sign a form that they acknowledge the bylaw. I actually went through and I never did manage to get my all the documentation I created last time set up, but it was on my old computer that died on me and I wasn't able to recover it. But I did do some work on some other bylaws just to see what they had that strayed from the state law. And Westport had some additions. Mainly, it had to do, here we go, mainly to do with like negligence and reckless misconduct and so on, as far as agriculture and animals and so on. But Fairhaven had quite a bit different, quite a bit added to it, and it was basically, can you pass down, please? It's basically the same as Rochester's, where they added a snippet in there for like new property owners, homeowners, and renters and so on to sign a form. So what I didn't do was print out the actual state law but I can do that, and we can also just go online and check it out, but they have basically a vanilla of their law for the towns to be used to create their own. And I'd like to have it be a bylaw for Lakeville, because I want to show our, not, the enforcement of our viewpoint of supporting agriculture within the town. And it'll be up to the commission's approval of what else we add to there, if we wanted to add that segment like Rochester did. And I also have a copy of Rochester's paper here that the people actually do have to sign out, in case you guys are interested to see what it looks like. I mean, the goal of myself getting into the AgCom going was not only to support the agriculture that we have, but I would love to be able to get more agriculture going within the town. And find ways of making it profitable, and also create a sense of community within the town. So that's my goal, and that's also one of the next aspects to come up on the agenda. It's just, you guys can look over these papers and read over what information we have there, and, try and decide which way we should go, and we can meet back on this on next month on how we want to proceed with this. And it'd be nice to get some signs up on the town lines, and finding a way of funding it, whether we can go to local businesses that can, it wouldn't be too many town signs, it'd be just the major roads coming into the town, so I don't think it would cost too much, but we have to figure that part out, and what, who to go to have the signs made up.
Right.
I can do some more homework on that and reach out to whoever had the signs created and find out where they had them made up and how much it cost.
I think we should probably work on getting something passed before we
Oh, yeah, I've
get
just.
prices on signs and so forth. You can't put up a right to farm sign without it being a right to farm town.
Community, right. I just figured if I had the information already available, but it's actually a big step just trying to get a bylaw passed, so.
So I think at one of our prior meetings, we had discussed this at some point in time, but is the adoption of the state bylaw just going on record that we recognize it?
It's basically what it is, the state law is already in effect. We're not doing anything different or giving any privileges to agriculture that's not already there because of state laws. The state law is there. Basically what it is, it's the town showing support for agriculture.
Okay.
And if we make it, add the language in there where anybody who's, buying property, buying a house, or becoming a new renter within the area, we could have it set up so they'd sign a form saying that they acknowledge that bylaw.
Who does this have to be passed by? The selectmen, town meeting?
It'd be a town meeting.
Town meeting is what I thought.
Yeah, it has to go to town meeting and pass by
Yep.
2/3. Last I knew. Okay. So we would be at the fall meeting, right? November,
Yeah. Yep.
if we get on the warrant in time, which we should be able to. Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't part of the commission before, but I remember being at town meeting when I think it was the first time the idea of right to farm was coming up, and then it was pulled so that it could work better with the selectmen, was my understanding at the
Yep.
meeting. So can somebody help me understand what the situation was that we didn't?
We had basically tried to rewrite things specifically for Lakeville, and people got very nervous
Okay.
There was a few holes in it.
about
There's
how.
just like a simple word, one word. It has multiple meanings to it, and they were getting very nervous.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And the fear was that the support of agriculture in town, if you enacted a right to farm bylaw, that means that someone on a grandfathered postage stamp lot of 5,000 square feet could stake 2 cows out on their front lawn, and that somebody in a subdivision could all of a sudden start an egg production and business and get 100 chickens. And of course, those aren't the cases, but
Right.
because we had tried to tailor everything so much to the town itself and what we had been discussing, it put up a lot of red flags to people that weren't there with us when we wrote it and with our intentions. And, I think anytime you get into politics, it seems that people think that you're trying to somehow pull a fast one and you're trying to get some law passed that's going to benefit certain people and exclude everybody else,
Right.
which wasn't the case. So then we did have another meeting where we discussed this, and I don't remember at what point in time that was, where we discussed the taking on the state bylaw as more recognition of the town of Lakeville supports agriculture, and we are announcing that, we follow the state bylaw. So let's,
That's essentially what any town in the state of Massachusetts is doing when they advertise as the right to
Right.
farm.
and we did have that meeting where Brad Mitchell spoke from the state. I'm sorry, yeah, no, he wasn't, he's not from the state. He's from some farm entity that escapes me right now. But he said basically that is what you need to do. The law is there for everybody,
Right.
but you need to say that you acknowledge it and you recognize it. So let me,
Thank you.
with this being said, I'll speak to the board and let them know that this is going to be revisited
Okay.
in the direction that we're trying to go.
Dave, would you want these?
Thank you. Oh, you already have the model.
So what
I
you're
was
saying
working on that when we
is,
got sidetracked doing other things, so you might want to look at them. There's a
Yeah.
bunch of them from all over the state.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
so what you're saying is basically we need to stick just with the state information and get that passed.
I think as Dave has brought up, yes, we do need to say that the town recognized the state bylaw, and then just perhaps a couple things, small things that tailor to the town. Like quickly looking at Fairhaven, they say that they have, if you have a grievance, it goes to the Board of Selectmen, Zoning Enforcement, or the Board of Health. Well, in dealing with Lakeville, they prefer us to try and mediate things before it clogs up
Yeah.
the other thing. So, perhaps an addendum to that bylaw for us would be that you go and, things go in front of the Agricultural Commission in order to try and resolve the issue before it goes to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Health, so that we continue to follow suit. I mean, they haven't had any complaints. The initial complaint that started us was a rooster complaint off of Bedford Street down towards the Rochester line. We were just in talks at that point in time. Jared Darling and I stepped in, we resolved that issue, and it went away. Coincidentally, I had to get involved with the same parties again this year, but the end of last year, but we were able to get it resolved as well. And there have been several other issues that haven't made it to the Board of Selectmen, that haven't made it to the Board of Health, because we've become involved. So I think, that's probably what we're looking for, is a little language in addition to that bylaw. Lakeville would suggest that you try and mediate with the AgCom first and before the other routes. And then, like Dave says, maybe something that, like Rochester has adopted, where you sign a form recognizing that there may be agricultural things going on in town. People could buy a house and not know that cranberry growers irrigate, and not know that there are such a thing as a frost night. They're so pretty, but we didn't know you really had to do anything to them.
Right.
When I was looking at some of the other towns, some of them have 21 days, some of them have 30 days. They all have it, but it's like a variation. Like if you're going to buy, could be 21 days, could be 30 days, but the biggest amount of days I saw from buying the house to notification was 30 days. I think Rochester says 21.
Yeah, I was looking at other towns' bylaws, and a lot of them are easy to find online.
They're very easy to find,
And then some others, like Rochester including,
not so easy.
not so easy. They're buried into a long list of bylaws
They are.
that they have, all of them for, one sheet for the town. Which made it kind of difficult to dig them out and have the software compare the.
I know, and most of them had the same list of things as they farming, then someone would throw in beekeeping or something that you wouldn't, or alpaca farms or things like that, that some other towns don't have.
Right.
So you think, well, this town obviously has these already, and they want to include them in their right to farm community, which I think is a good idea.
Right. Yeah, I think so too.
Anything more on that for the time being? We'll just leave it that I'll let the board know that this is our intention and see
Right,
what they think.
We'll mull it over and think about the language and what we want to include and revisit it next month.
Okay. Number 5 on tonight's agenda, the farmer's market. I have 0 updates. It continues to flounder, and
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned. I'd like to get the farmer's market going.
we can't seem to get anybody to pull the trigger on committing to trying to run it.
Somebody who knows.
There's suggestions on the date. There's the day of the week. There's things like that, but nobody is coming forward and nobody is responding to the inquiries that we've sent to try and get someone to commit. I don't know if at this stage of the game, if we step back as a commission and maybe have the other town entity or the nonprofit support of the AgCom pale. Just try and start. I don't know if it's worth trying to have a pop-up. If you just try and say, advertise on Wednesdays, we have this space. If you want to try and do it, and then it's separate it from the town. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if that'll work or not. We've spent a decent amount of time trying to recruit somebody, trying to get it going and talk about it, and we continue to flounder.
Yeah. What have we been contacting other managers at other farmers markets to see if they're interested on doing a different day?
We've talked to managers. We've had, I've had email discussions with people that we've been put in contact with. I've had phone discussions with them as well. We have been suggested to try and pick a day that doesn't interfere with the other towns' days, come up with a location and so forth, and we seem to be able to get those things somewhat in the right direction, but we don't have anybody that will pull the trigger and say that they will run the show for us.
Right.
Because they, when you have these managers, they bring in their own people.
That's the thing too, is the most valuable part of a manager that's used to doing the farmers markets is they have all these contacts.
Yeah.
And to jump right into it without the contacts will be tough. It's a lot of legwork.
And we haven't had anybody come before the commission who said, oh yeah, I would do that if you got everything together, that they would manage it.
No.
Okay.
We've had suggestions of people in town that they thought may be interested. Jared had a gentleman that he was going to reach out to. We've discussed it since. No commitment there. I have someone that ran the one in Easton that was very helpful on the phone, but is not committing to this. Early on, Kelly Howley, we may know her as Kelly Conway, had come up with somebody that was unable to attend a meeting because of childbirth, if like that's an excuse. My apologies. But, and I don't know where it went from
After
there,
that.
Now we know that there's an infant involved and how much
Right.
is,
Time is taken up with that.
yeah, that's a tremendous amount of time.
Tremendous.
Sure.
So where we've gone from there, we've never heard back from that party. So we just, we put it on the agenda, we talk about it, and it flounders.
It
It doesn't go anywhere. And it's tough, you feel like you're having meetings, and it's nice that we meet, but we're not, we're not chewing any ground moving forward, it seems, on things. And then, some of the things we do move forward on didn't really go off as we had
planned,
hoped.
right.
So,
Do we still have contact information for the woman who has the new baby?
I have everybody's contact info that I can,
Because I don't mind just throwing a question out to her to see.
yeah.
You own the babysit?
Yeah,
Bring the baby!
I can, I'll send you everybody's
Oh,
info
thank
I
you.
have.
Yeah, maybe because, maybe I could do something to try to help a little bit.
Okay.
Because in the inquiries I made, the only luck I had of the 3 that I tried was the one that I attended the market and talked to the woman that was running it. And that was in Swansea.
Okay.
I know we had 2 locations that were in mind for that. One was the Lions Club. Did we get?
The Lions Club had shown some interest, not directly by their board having a vote on it, but there is some interest there. We do also have the opportunity to use, we had the support of, like, the building commissioner and so forth, for the use of the old town hall.
And did you speak to the library as well for that area?
And that's part of the issue that we run into, is that the suggested, if you talk to the experienced people from the area, suggested night, I think, was a Wednesday, because some of the other towns have Tuesdays and Thursdays around here. So Wednesday would be our loop day. And, Wednesday, the library is open. So I don't know that we have the parking there. Sundays would be a decent day as far as getting parking access there, but then there's so many other things going on Sundays. Are you going to draw people in on a Sunday? And again, that's where we need the experience of somebody that's doing this.
Right. The only one I saw that was actually, Middleborough has like 3 farmers markets going.
Yeah.
I know one of them was struggling. And I'm not really sure that, I couldn't find any information on that one online, on what day they actually do it, but the other two are like Saturdays. The only one I saw that was in the area that was doing it on Sundays was in Taunton.
Swansea's on Sunday too,
Do they?
but they're not that close by.
But, yeah, they're not that close.
We, in the discussions that we had had early on with Middleborough was, they were more trying to poach somebody that, if we had somebody that we were going to use, they would like to use that person as well, because they were having issues there.
Right.
Make it work.
With the market folks that I spoke to, and like you say, there's more than one over there. I don't know.
Yeah, well, Cindy, maybe you and I can work together and reach out and see what more we can, or how many more we can actually reach out to.
Yeah. If we can find somebody that's got a little more to give us.
I know I
Either
was-
help or,
I was talking about it at actually a family cookout, the Thomas family cookout, and my cousin actually mentioned that his wife knows somebody that has experience doing it. I need to talk to her to see if I can get the contact information and reach out to them as well.
that's great.
I know a flat area is better for setting up the stalls and so on. That's the one problem by the old town hall. I mean, the location's fantastic, for the location. Plus, the other thing too is that what I want to accomplish with the farmer's market is not only make it profitable, for the farmers, crafters, if people want to bake and so on, because they have laws that pertain to that have to be followed. But it'd just be nice to get that sense of community going. And also help other local businesses, such as if we had it over by the old town hall and the grass areas that are around there that aren't too much of a hill, something brewing would benefit from it as well.
It would.
And I mean, that was started by a couple of members of the Lakeville Mothers Area Club, and it'd just be nice to get everybody involved and benefit from it. I actually did a printout. I don't know if any of you are interested. I mean, it's all online, but the state actually has development outlines for creating farmers markets, and I printed out if you guys are interested in having any of this.
Thank you.
That's really good.
It's quite a few pages. It's like 7 or 8 pages.
Thank you.
But it'll give us a good outline. And a lot of this would end up being covered by somebody that has the experience of the farmers markets, but and some of it will come actually down to us on the location that we can set up and whatnot.
Right.
Actually, to be honest with you, I've actually floated the idea around my head of actually managing it myself. But that's, I don't have the contacts to bring in. I mean, that'd be
So
a
it's
lot.
too early for me to make a motion?
It's too early to make a motion, exactly. And then the other part is too, is that I don't know how that would go over well with my family, with what needs to be done on the farm on the weekends, so,
One more. Go ahead.
Yeah.
but they're only like usually 3 or 4 hours,
Yep.
so I'll have to live with it if it comes to that.
Any more on farmer's market?
Yeah, I think Cindy and I will work on it, see what we can find out,
Sounds good.
Okay.
and we'll tackle that and revisit it next meeting.
Okay.
All right. I'll give you my contact information, so
Thanks. Yeah.
we don't step on each other's toes and do twice the amount of work that we actually need to do.
Yeah, if we're in touch, it'll be good. All right.
So next on the agenda, future meetings discussion, and this may be the wrong time to bring this up, but I was wondering what people thought about maybe meeting bi-monthly instead of every month.
I think that's the wrong time to bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm kind of spinning off the floundering thing, you know, if we meet just to have a meeting.
Well, my viewpoint on that is I'm not against that. I can actually see that possibly being the way to go. But I think, let us focus on the right to farm and the farmer's market and see what we can do with this
Yeah.
before we decide to go bi-monthly.
Yeah, I kind of think like the summer months tend to be our busier months, so if we were gonna do a bi-monthly thing, it might be like during harvest season or winter
Yeah, well, this,
would be a great suggestion. I'm just.
yeah, no, I agree, and I just thought it,
Or if we can just
I'd
openly
get it on the table.
communicate and just say, like, when you send out your texts, if there's anything pressing or not pressing, or if we have issues we need to address or not address, we can make that decision,
right,
you know, a week, 7 days prior to us possibly meeting or not meeting.
yeah. You know, we lose Joni during hay season,
Right.
we lose Dave during picking season,
Right.
we lose Jared depending on which sport or
Right.
whatever
I mean,
is
it's
going
just a
on.
thought, 'cause if we're talking about the right to farm
Yeah.
for November, you know, that's a big push.
No, and I agree. I agree, but I want to throw it out there.
Okay.
You know. Anything else that we didn't hit on that has come up that maybe wasn't on an agenda that we need to discuss?
Well, Tracy has mentioned that she wants someone to take her place,
Or secretarial
Yeah,
meetings.
and I had some questions. I mean, I ran an organization for New England there, was Swanton Northeast, and it entailed Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. And what we did was we rotated the job. Usually it was for 2 years. And I don't know, I think that's not a bad way to look at it. And if you could give me some pointers and stuff, I'd be willing to be the next guy, the next person to rotate
All right.
on that, you know.
Thanks, Hank.
I can totally.
did she offer you a stipend because she offered everybody else a stipend?
No.
She'll bake something on me every
Yeah,
month.
she was baking something.
Oh, I will make something. I can do that.
All right, yeah, that doesn't sound like a bad plan.
You know, so that you know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yep,
Like Tracy doesn't feel that way right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've been it's 2.5 years I've been
Yeah.
doing it, so.
Well, you've been doing it since the start, right?
Yeah.
yeah, 2.5 years.
Has it been?
Yeah.
Feels longer.
Same amount of time I've been trying to get rid of the chairmanship. You beat me to the punch, though. So,
Oh, we rotated everything.
Yeah.
Rotated the president all the way down, vice president. Everybody had to go up the line and do the job, treasurer, all the
Did-
way up and then rotate back.
did you have a bylaw for that? Was there a bylaw
Yeah.
in that? All right. That's probably something that would be interesting to look into.
It was pretty cool, until I left, and then when I left, the kid was a little power hungry that took it over, and he's been there since, and that's been like 5 years now,
Okay.
you know? And the chairman job, you know?
Yeah.
Nobody else probably wants it, so they're not fighting for it.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by that.
But the bylaw, that is against the bylaw, what they're doing,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay, all right.
It's actually probably another way of getting some fresh ideas and.
Yeah.
People don't burn out as much.
Okay,
Paul's taking notes.
I've been secretary before.
Yeah, that's pretty.
yeah, write bylaws.
They do have a-
Go home tonight, write bylaws.
I have a folder with all this stuff.
All right,
Okay.
if we are all set,
All set.
I think we're good.
Good.
I would entertain a motion to close the meeting.
All right, motion, we close the meeting.
I
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 7:40, we've closed the meeting.